G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. You're probably wondering where I am today on this Thursday afternoon, the Thursday before Good Friday, the Roman Catholic Protestant Good Friday, and I'm up here at Port Stephens. I'm up here at Nelson Bay for the weekend, just to chill out. I'm up here on a place called Mount Tomaree, which rises at the entrance to Port Stephens. So this is Mount Tomaree where I am standing, and on the other side there is Mount Yakabar, and these two beautiful mountains welcome ships in and out of this port, and it is a absolute magnificent part of New South Wales, and I got to say it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, especially for me and my family. We've spent many years holidaying up here, and I have many wonderful and fond memories with my children, my wife, my parents, my friends, and many stories that I can relive over and over again and enjoy, as I mentioned. It's in the afternoon on Thursday. Shortly we're going to have the sunset over there in the west. It's a pity, it's an absolute pity that it's not a clear autumn afternoon, because what's happening today is very unique. Today we're going to have the sunset in the west, and within 15 minutes of that sunset we're going to have a full moon rising in the east. So round about where the sun rises in the morning, which is where I've got you there in the middle of the screen, the moon will be rising tonight. There'll be a full moon rising just after a magnificent sunset, but it could have been a absolutely cracker of a sunset if there wasn't as much cloud in the sky. What I have noticed out there on the horizon, and I'll just zoom in on it just to show you, is there is a bait ball down there, that black shadow in the ocean. I've seen it moving around, and it looks to be a massive bait ball. So we'll keep an eye on it and we'll see where it is towards the end of the video. But I absolutely love coming up here, because as I said before, it is my bolt hole. I've been coming up here for years, and we've got lots and lots of shared memories with my wife, with my parents, with my children, and now my grandchildren. So I couldn't be any more blessed, to tell you the truth. And I'm very grateful, and grateful to God for the position that I'm in at this age that I'm at the moment. Anyway, without any further ado, what I'd like to do today is to take you through an old classic book. Not a really old classic, but relatively old. It was written in 1975 when I was 15 years of age, and I remember reading this book in the 80s. And this book has been I guess, refreshed time and time again in order to keep it relevant. And the name of the book is What Colour Is Your Parachute by Richard Bolles. And it's a book which talks about finding a job, keeping a job, and how to go about it. And as I alluded to earlier, the world has changed a lot since 1975. with technology, with industry, with so many changes happening in the world. This book, as I mentioned, is one of the few books that has a number of iterations and does that in order to keep up with the times and to stay relevant. So what can we learn from this book? I must admit I've changed a number of jobs over the years. It's no secret that I've worked for some of the biggest and best corporations in the world as a corporate accountant, but it's also interesting to note that even I, with all of my experience, with all of my background, having worked for some of the best organisations in the world, there is a life cycle in each job or in each organisation, and you need to keep on moving, because if you don't keep moving, the organisation will make you move anyway. So I guess on a positive note have been able to celebrate not one, not two, but 5 redundancies, which means 5 payouts over my working career of 35 years. And there were some organisations that I absolutely loved, and I would have loved to continue to work for them. But because of economic cycles which come and go, management reshuffles, and all of the changes, and the fact that we age as well, means that we're not always going to be relevant, and we just need to keep refreshed, just like this book keeps refreshed, and to keep on moving, and to not get comfortable anywhere, because you're not going to be rewarded if you take comfort in any particular organisation, I guess, is the key lesson that I have learnt. So in hindsight, I think the best advice that I ever received was from a work friend of mine, a person I went to university with, a person that I socialised with, somebody who went on to become a very, very successful senior executive, working very, very senior roles across the globe. And his name is Peter Kalyuropoulos. And Peter told me back in 1995, I think it was, says, James, as soon as you get your name on a business card, start looking for your next job. So as soon as you land a job, then you've got to be just looking and searching and doing your homework to get your next job either within that organisation or to get your next job in another organisation. But you need to keep on jumping, you need to keep on moving, because gone are the days where you would start in one organisation and you would have a career that would last 25, 30, 40, 50 years. I once worked for an organisation like that, IBM, which was one of the most revered companies in the world in the mid-80s. But even IBM hit the wall, because sooner or later competition catches up with you. Competition redefines the market and redefines the engagement rules and the employment rules, and sooner or later starts to take away, they start to undermine the main players by offering more money to their good people and basically pull them out of the organisations, and that slowly has an impact on the performance of those great organisations. So let's get back to this book now. So the first point that the author makes is that you just got to keep on going and not to worry, because what he says here is that after each rejection, and every time you get a no from a client, or you get a no from a job interview, or a no from a recruitment consultant, he says you've got to take comfort in the fact that you are one no closer to a yes. So don't give up. The more you try, the more opportunities, the more doors will open. And with each door opening, it will lead you to another path, to another door, to another window. So you just got to keep on going, I guess, is the key message from this author. So the first point that the author makes, and I agree with these points that he makes, because as I said, I've lived them. He says that you shouldn't rush your job hunt, because these days it takes some time. It takes some time nowadays to get a job, and there is much uncertainty about finding a job and finding the right job. So the best advice that the author gives us, and it's the advice that I've been giving people over and over again over the years, is that it's always best to go from one job to another job. I remember in that first, with that first redundancy that I took from IBM, it took me 9 months to land another job. So the money that I took, I think it was about $30,000 I got from that redundancy, and thank God I used it as a deposit for a unit up here at Nelson Bay, a waterfront unit, and it's appreciated over time, and it's been a godsend for me. But it took me 9 months to get another job, which was demoralizing, because it happened at a time when my children were young, my wife was young, and I ended up working with my parents for that time, just to make some money and to stay sane and to have something to do from day to day. Because when you get up in the morning and you haven't got a job to go to, and you're waiting on interviews, and you're looking for the next opportunity, and you're making calls, it plays on you. And as the author here says, rejections take a massive toll on you, and it can wear you down, because it takes longer than you think for most people to land a job. And look, realistically these days, you've got to be realistic. It's going to be harder for a middle-aged male, to land a job. In my last job that I was made redundant, or my job was made redundant, I was 57, and I sat and thought to myself, what chances do I have as an almost 60-year-old landing an office job in corporate Australia? And the reality is it's almost impossible. So I changed industries, and I'm really, really happy that I did. But for most people, it's really hard, especially as you get older. You put on weight, you lose your hair, you lose your sex appeal, you lose your relevance. You don't no longer as sharp in your thinking, in your talking. You're no longer as impressive as an individual, and you're up against people who are much younger and much more vibrant. So it's really, really tough. And the author here says that you're also at risk of getting cold feet and end up just taking anything. I guess there were opportunities that popped up along the way that offered less pay and not as much opportunity. So what the author here says is you've got to be careful that you don't lose heart and just grab any job just to get back into the workforce, because not all jobs, not all opportunities are opportunities. You may end up getting into a dead-end job, which will distract you, will get you down, and will make you even less likely to get another job, because the next job interview will say, well, why did he go from a really, really good job to an average job, and now he's moving again, or now she's moving again. So you've got to be careful not to just jump at anything, and be selective and be discerning. Because if you do take a job which is not the ideal job, you're going to be unhappy and underpaid, and you shouldn't be lowering your standards. So the good advice from this author is to keep calm and carry on. The author here also now is quite realistic in telling us to forget about optimizing our resume, and what you're better off doing is optimizing your online presence instead. In the old days, what you do is, go and optimize your resume. And I remember years ago paying somebody some really, really good money to optimize my resume and change the wording and make everything sound a lot better and a lot sexier. Put a positive and a sexy marketing spin on everything. But these days, you don't really need a resume to get a job. What the author here suggests is that we should start by Googling our name and see what pops up. And to ask yourself the simple question, if I was an employer, what would I think of your LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter profile? What sort of imprint are they creating? And what you should be doing, or should be looking at doing, according to this author, is to remove all of the things that may appear as red flags and clean up as best you can your online presence. And the other thing that the author suggests, which is a really, really, really good idea, something that I endorse as well, is to start leaving some breadcrumbs on the internet, like starting, a blog channel or a web channel, and doing some other work, because by doing some vlogs and blogs, what you're doing is you're showing what you already know, and you're showing that you're doing what you already know, and that in itself may give a positive impression. So these days, as I say, I have a YouTube channel which I upload to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to YouTube, and to Instagram. So I have a massive online presence. I don't have too many followers, because at the end of the day, I'm 63, I'm a grandfather. I think a lot of the material that I may talk about isn't as relevant, isn't as appealing as what it would be if, unless I was younger and more vibrant and, more in tune with what's going on around me. But it's not stopping other people by taking the opportunity to use the enormous free technology that's available for people to promote themselves, to promote their ideas, and to gain an online presence, and to be an influencer from a professional perspective, something that may help them attract the right attention. So the author then goes on to say that there are 3 ways to score in a job interview, and you can tackle all of these before you even show up. You need to expose yourself to scrutiny through an interview. An interview at the end of the day is like an exam. But like all exams, you can prepare for it. You can get ready, and you can learn all that there is about the company. I remember years ago going for a job interview at Microsoft and reading before that interview, reading as much as I could about Microsoft. And I remember reading Bill Gates' autobiography. I read it in one weekend. I sat down on a Saturday, I had the interview on a Monday, and I finished the entire book in 2 days. So the author here says that in itself is good. It didn't help me in any way. I had actually 6 interviews with Microsoft, 8 hours worth of interviews. My last interview was with the managing director. on a Saturday. And for some reason, I still don't know why, I didn't land that job. But had I landed that job with Microsoft back then, just after IBM, I could have had a different career trajectory. But by the same token, I still am happy. I've worked with some great companies and with some great people, and I've built and developed some great experience over the years, so I'm not complaining in any way. So learn all there is about the company by Googling them, by checking LinkedIn, and soak up the culture, the history, the facts, the figures. Now, I remember going for an interview in a company, and I knew somebody who worked there, so I rang them up and had lunch with them just to find out about the culture, to find out the likes, the dislikes of the manager who was going to interview me. You know, just stuff like that. And the author here also says that you need to prepare questions. You just don't turn up to the interview and just listen and get told stuff or just answer questions. You need to prepare questions that you're going to ask the employer. You know, you need to listen to what they're saying. You need to ask and probe and, you know, and generate some good questions. You need to drill them. You need to show them your work. You need to show off your portfolio. It's called the briefcase technique. Because at the end of the day, you're selling yourself and they're selling themselves to you. So don't fumble. By all means, don't fumble with unexpected questions, and try and have your answers pre-prepared. At the end of the day, you know, every interview you ever go to, you're going to understand, or you're going to virtually figure out exactly what questions they're going to ask you. You just need to demonstrate your skills, demonstrate your capability, demonstrate that you're a good fit. And first impressions are lasting impressions. And you need to learn, and you need to basically fit in, and to create and add value, and to be somebody who is dependable. You know, a person who comes with a reputation that you need to live up to. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'll just turn this camera around if I can. I don't think I can. I can't see if I can turn the camera around. It doesn't matter. So that's about it. So take care. Wishing you all the best. Let's live, learn and pass it on. And you know, make sure that we've got plenty of parachutes, because we are going to get kicked out of the organisations or groups that we're working in for whatever reason, and you've got to be prepared to have a safe landing, and then go up again and go for another flight and prepare for another another free fall, and do it over and over again, and to welcome it, to embrace it, not to be scared of it at all. So thank you once again. Take care. Wishing you all the best from this magical location, and wishing we all have a productive career, and not to worry. Even if you do find yourself without a job, just to find a purpose. Just find out what more you can do, invest in yourself, and become a better version of yourself, because there are opportunities for all of us throughout our lives, regardless of what age we are. Yassas, take care, and bye for now.